Hello, this is Roland. Welcome. Today I want to continue reading from A Guide to True Peace. I want to read something from chapter 9 on self-denial. And we'll begin with the quotation from Christ, who said, "If any man would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross and follow me." Or in more modern language, it would be, if anyone wants to follow me, let him or her deny himself or herself and follow me, and take up their cross and follow me. And so, to deny oneself, what does that mean? Well, let's talk about it. The book here, A Guide to True Peace Revisited, in chapter 9, the author says, if any other way but bearing the cross and dying to his own will could have redeemed man from a fallen and corrupt state, Jesus would have taught it and established it by his example. But of all that desire to follow him, he has required the bearing of the cross, and without exception has said to all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross and follow me. Why then do you fear to take up the cross, which will direct you to the path which leads to the kingdom of God? Well, let's talk about it. You see, Adam had a weakness, which we inherit from him. Adam had a weakness. He didn't love God very much, maybe. And he didn't love Eve. And he had a little desire to be prideful, to do it on his own, to show himself to be a big man, so to speak. And so he was tempted through Eve. The serpent tempted Adam through Eve to try something on his own. And the first thing was a forbidden act. And so that's what Adam did. He was tempted. Something challenged him, teased him to try it. In fact, the serpent said, "Hey, did God say that if you eat that you won't die? Why don't you try it and find out? I bet you won't die. Instead, you'll know the knowledge of good and evil." See? Well, that's what Adam did. He went for it. Even though he knew better, he went for it anyway. That was his weakness. Maybe he was already a little bit hypnotized. He was entranced by the idea of greatness. And then the thing itself captured his attention. Sometimes people hear a voice talking to them, telling them to do something that's dangerous or naughty. And the voice argues, hey, find out for sure, or nothing will happen. You know, that sort of thing. We've all had that experience. And we all also know, too, that when it comes to things like gambling, the temptation is there, and we know what the result is going to be. Or it could be anything. It could be pornography, or it could be drugs. It could be anything, stealing something. There's the temptation, and even though you know what the result is going to be, it's going to be unhappiness, sadness, trouble, guilt, see, loss. The gambler deep down knows he's going to lose. That's what always happens. In the long run, you always lose. But the temptation is there. And so you see what happens. Well, that's what happened to Adam. Well, okay. So now with that background, now can you see how self-indulgence, I'm changing the framework a little bit now. Let's talk about self-indulgence, about indulging oneself. It leads to what? If you indulge yourself, too much marijuana, too much drugs, too much food, too much work, too much partying, Too much anything, basically. Too much anything. And what's the result? It's never good. It's always breakdown, deterioration, frustration, some kind of loss. Okay? And so that's why Aristotle said moderation in all things. So we all know that we're better off if we eat moderately, work moderately, exercise moderately. And we know that also applies to our emotions. If you indulge your emotions, then what? Then you get all excited or all upset or all angry, then you overdo it. If you're too excited, like little kids go to the amusement park and they do too much and eat too much and everything too much, and eventually what happens? They start crying or, see? And if you indulge your anger or you indulge anything, any appetite, any passion that you indulge, see, the result is not good. So less is better than more. You're better to not have the extra cookie. You're always better not to have the extra cookie or the extra potato chips or the extra drink. See, you're always better off. And we know that. You know that. But in the moment, what happens? Well, see, the other thing that happens is once you start to indulge yourself, then the effect, you become a little bit hypnotized, and then that thing that you indulge yourself with, then it affects you. Like the presence of the ethereal temptation. Then there's the cookie, there's the extra drink, there's the bottle, there's the extra something. Any temptation, even work, doing work for someone else. See, it's their job, but they were always asking you to do it, and you resent. See, which is an indulgence. You resent them for asking, but then out of guilt you do it, and before long you become a slave of them. You're always doing for them. See? And you know what the result is going to be, but you become, do you see how the object then has a pull on you? It entrances you a little bit. You get a little bit lost in it, and then you indulge yourself, and then afterwards you're sorry. It's always the same. You see? So, and you become enslaved by it. Enslaved by it. The example I just gave, there's someone that always is asking you to do their work for them. Let's say at work, on the job, for example. And you know you shouldn't. You should say, no, it's your job. Sorry, I've got plenty of work myself. But instead you resent them, and then you feel guilty, and then you do it for them. And then after you've done that a few times, then notice what happens. You find it hard to speak up to them. You find it hard to say no. You see the enslavement? But anyway, so to deny oneself then. So what does this mean, to deny oneself? Well, you see, it means a lot. But it also means the basic, see, the ego life. In Greek, there's the word psyche, or psyche, if you want to say psyche. We say psyche, but I like the word psyche, to pronounce it psyche, and zoe. Zoe is the spiritual life. Psyche is the ego life. Okay? Well, the ego life is built upon what? It's built upon excitements, indulgences, greeds, goals, angers, see, challenges, teases, grasping for material things, substances, see, temptation, gossip, see, all these type of things, buying things, shopping, materialism. That's the ego life. And also knowledge. The ego life is very much based in knowledge. words. See, the ego wants to hear words of praise for itself. See, words of glory, words of assurance and reassurance, and it revels in those feelings. So words excite, and music excites. Music soothes the savage beast, but it also excites the savage beast, you see. So that's the ego life. And then daydreaming away, fantasizing about romance or revenge. If somebody does you wrong, then you fantasize about getting even with them and doing the same thing to them that they did to you or something. See? Or romance, all kinds of romantic imaginations. Or sex and violence. You could also say that, sex and violence. Daydreams of sex and violence. Or then watching entertainment about sex and violence. See, it's always about stimulation and about excitement and emotions and arousal. And, see, that's the ego life. But can you see, even as I described it, can you see how we're basically talking about responding to temptation? See? And then eventually we react to everything around us as if it were the temptation. Remember how I said that first is the alcohol first provides escape, let's say, from conscience, from responsibility, from shame, for not having done things properly, for having hated someone, for having become angry and indulged your anger. Then you try to soothe yourself and drown your sorrows. Forget. See, you're wrong. And feel right when you don't deserve to feel right with the help of alcohol. But then later on, the bottle, the glasses, the tinkling, the lights, the smells. See, all of that has a little effect on you, a little hypnotic effect. And then pretty soon you're going into it. See, and carried away with it, and then you indulge yourself. See? So before long, all of life has that hypnotic effect upon you. Because everywhere you go, it's a reminder in some way. Some look-alike scene, look-alike object, look-alike smell, look-alike circumstance, look-alike something. It brings back some time when you react to temptation, when you failed to bear things without becoming resentful. See, you can bear. See, if let's say somebody slaps you on the face. Okay, they slapped you on the face, so you feel the pain, but you don't have to feel the hate. It's okay to feel the pain, but not the hate. See what I mean? So that's an example that makes clear that for anything you can bear. It's a good word, bear. The trials and tribulations of the world, the vicissitudes of life, the ups and downs. You can learn to bear them without indulging yourself. See? Because when you indulge yourself, if you don't have the discipline to not indulge, if you indulge your anger, your rage, your passion, your judgment, see, your resentment, then you begin to lose control of yourself. And then it becomes the stimulus, and it becomes the master. Your environment eventually becomes the total master. Not only, like I said, by transference, the objects and circumstances and sights and sounds and things, but also the mysterious presence of temptation. See, it was in the garden. It spoke to Eve, to her mind. It speaks to people's minds. See, it's still there. It's still lurking. The temptation is still there. And it speaks to the mind, but it operates through things. You can almost hear the bottle talking to you. There it is. You can almost hear it talking to you, telling you to indulge yourself. See, what's the use trying? It says, just relax, just go ahead. See? All right. Well, So now you see what deny yourself means. It means to feel the pain, but not the hate. See, not the resentment. So as you go around, you're going to people will give you plenty of opportunities to overlook. It's another way of putting it, to overlook. Somebody makes a mistake. Somebody doesn't say good morning to you. Somebody doesn't remember your name. Somebody spills coffee on your table. I'm just making something up. Somebody is dishonest with you a little bit, or somebody said something behind your back. They said something about you. See, well, there's a chance to overlook. Bear the outrageous slings and arrows. Is that what the way Shakespeare put it? The fortune, but without resenting it. Just bear it. Okay? And then in situations where you feel a little something rising, it'd be better if you didn't feel any anger at all. You just did what you had to do without anger or excitement. What's the use getting excited about things? You know, mildly stimulated or a little anticipation before a speech or something. That's perfectly normal, but there's no use to drum up. No need to drum up a lot of excitement. But if you feel a little bit of excitement, then just notice it. Take a mental step back and notice it without indulging it, without reveling in it, wallowing in it. See, just notice it so that it doesn't build. They talk about adding fuel to the fire. So if you see somebody's trying to pull you into an argument, then just take a mental step back, okay? And then, what does it say in the Bible? It says, a soft answer turneth away wrath. So instead of getting involved and doing to them what they did to you, and then the argument escalates, just perhaps say yes or no, and take leave without adding fuel to the fire. Let them stand there with egg on their face. See, you're frustrated, and you walk away. You're much better. See, if somebody cuts in front of you, don't resent them. Learn to overlook. Okay, learn to overlook. So now you see what to deny yourself means. Okay, but now here's the thing. I want to take it to one higher level quickly, and then tell you something practical. On a higher level, then what do you get then? Then in exchange, you get the spiritual life. But you need help to do this, to deny yourself. I don't think anyone can do it without God's help. You need God's help. You need to meditate for objectivity, so you're a little closer to the light. Then you'll be able to see, in the light you'll see the need for patience. It's another way of putting it, being patient. And it'll be easier because you just simply see what choice do you have. See, you're sitting in the car, you're driving, and your little child is with you. Let's say your little daughter or your son is with you. They're sitting in the back seat, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, whatever. Well, somebody cuts in front of you. Okay, you see that. But when you stand back and take a mental step back, you see that if you were to get upset, then you would set a bad example for them. You would disappoint them. They would see your lack of self-control. They would see your lack of love. See? And so on. Instead of smiling or just ignoring it, getting upset, saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. So seeing all of that, seeing how it would hurt them in the long run, to see you're failing as their father, for example, then you just don't. Because you can see where it would lead to. You see what I mean? All right. So, but you get the spiritual life. With God's help, you begin to lay down, not all at once, but little by little, and the meditation helps you. Okay? If you were to start meditating properly, like with my meditation, then the first things that would give you up, without effort. See, effort and struggle and will, that's more indulgence. You don't need effort. You don't need struggle. You don't need will. You don't even, your ego is so used to struggle and effort and will that you don't even know there's another way of doing things without effort and struggle and will. But the first thing we'd give you might be, for example, some bad habit like smoking, or marijuana, or smoking cigarettes, or something like that. That'd be the first thing to go. And usually it's the last things that you require to also go. But something really bad like that goes, and then you begin to see your resentments, and you're sorry to see how resentful you are and hateful, and you see that, and you begin to let those go, and gradually then, as the months and years go by, you become more and more self-contained, less upset, less angry. And see, the other thing, remember too, that when you get angry, it leads to hunger, doesn't it, and thirst. If you get really angry, really upset, then you're more hungry and thirsty. Have you noticed? See? And more sensually aroused too. See? So as you calm down, then your hungers mitigate and your thirsts mitigate, and you are more settled and more calm. And the more settled and calm you are, the more you're able to see and realize and understand and be glad, rejoice, and be amazed at how more and more calm you are becoming. Where before you would have become totally unglued, now you remain calm. You're amazed at that, and you realize it's not of yourself. Okay? And all you do is do the little meditation, and every day, and then it leads to that. Okay? And then the spiritual life, like I said, of joys, see, of which you don't even know now. All you know now are lusts and angers and hatreds and resentments and pleasure and pain. That's all you know now. But there's a whole world of joy, spiritual joy, that awaits you just on the other side of beginning to let go of, ever so gently, of your egoic excesses. Okay? Now, the other thing I wanted to mention, which I've already talked about in very practical terms, and that is the something that may be of help to you. If you could go through life without reacting, can you see how you'd be better off? So let's just talk about one little indulgence. Reacting, getting upset, being emotional, mostly reacting to things, people, places, things, circumstances. Can you see that if you went through life without reacting, that you'd be more self-contained, more self-disciplined, less upsettable, see, calmer, more reasonable? You can see that, can't you? So you can see that by being calmer and less reactive, you'd be better off. Well, here's an example. You remember the old Mr. Magoo cartoon? So, some of you older folks remember it well. You saw it. And some of the younger folks, you might have seen it on Saturday morning or in some video collection, that you bought real cheap at Walmart or something. Mr. Magoo, remember? His eyesight was really bad. And so he went around, and everywhere he went, things were always happening. Trees were falling, and bridges were collapsing, and I'm just making things up. All these things were happening, and he just went driving, and it just happened. Drove right past it, and nothing happened to him. See, he didn't even know anything was happening. Everybody else was getting all upset and having issues, and he was just driving along, totally. See, another example is Bugs Bunny. Remember Bugs Bunny? He didn't get upset by anything. Yosemite Sam was always getting totally upset and coming unglued, and so was Daffy Duck. See, Bugs Bunny or Elmer Fudd, always upset. Bugs Bunny was always calm, right? What's up, Doc? He would say, chomp on his carrot and remain cool, calm, and collected. Wouldn't that be nice to be that way? Okay? And another example, this is kind of fun, but you sometimes hear of someone when they get older that they have hearing aid. They can't hear very well without their hearing aid. And did you know that sometimes they turn it off? Then they don't hear what their wife or husband or whoever is saying to them. They just act like they just don't even hear it. So you know what that means. They're not getting upset. But see, if they meditated with my meditation and followed my principles, then they wouldn't get upset anyway. Even if somebody was nagging them or talking incessantly, it wouldn't bother them. But you got the idea. If you don't hear it, then you're not upset by it. Well, there is a way to be that way, to be like Bugs Bunny and Mr. Magoo, to things that you go through life. Remember, right? See, we're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. To go placidly. See, like the beginning of the Desiderata, it says to go placidly amid the noise and haste. Wouldn't that be nice? Like a ship going through the water. The water doesn't go into the ship. The waves, the water the ship cuts through the water. That's how you should go through life. Another example, a man used, a very brilliant and spiritual man, always gave the example of a ballerina floating across the stage. See, that's the way you should go through life. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, you can. You have to learn to remain, to overlook, to be dispassionate. And you do that by not resenting. That's the secret. Not resenting. See, resentment is an ego indulgence. See, think about it. I'm going to leave you with this. Remember your pride or pride. When you resent, it's an indulgence. It's like eating a piece of chocolate. Okay? Then if you eat the chocolate, you're indulging it. But there's the chocolate, and if you just let it pass, not have it, then you don't indulge it. It's the same with resentment. You can meditate for a little bit of mental distance and then observe the resentment and then just let it pass. Because it's an ego indulgence. See? But remember this ego indulgence. It has the same effect as any other indulgences do. What's the result of having an extra cigarette, extra drink, extra piece of pie, extra something? Not good, is it? Especially in the long run, it's not good. So therefore, you just let the resentment pass and don't indulge it. Now, it seems like you're denying yourself. In fact, if you're not, if even when you begin to meditate, okay, then you will see, your soul will have a little bit of distance. You'll be able to see it. It won't harm you. You'll just see it. That there's part of you that feels like it's being denied something vital. See? Like life itself, how vital it is to indulge that something or other, whether it's a chocolate or sexual thing or resentment. See? But you just let it pass. Okay? Then it quickly diminishes and it's gone. Then you feel strengthened, and also you have a little tiny bit of a triumph for having overcome evil with good. And the good in this case was standing in the light and observing, see, what not to do. So a lot of life from now on, after you begin the meditative life, will be just seeing what not to do, and then not doing it. See how simple that is? It doesn't involve lots and lots of things that you have to do. Mostly it's just seeing things not to do, and then not doing them. Very simple. My name is Roland.